Gemini Heroes Reborn is a unique first-person action platformer, developed and published by Phosphor Games, who have released two other games, one called Corpse of Discovery, a walking simulator, and a VR-only title. Regardless, it's not Phosphor Games who caught my interest. Instead, it was the fact that Gemini Heroes Reborn isn't just some random unknown shovelware title. It's a game based on the spin-off of the hit show Heroes. Maybe you remember it. Save the cheerleader, save the world, superpowers, convoluted plots, time traveling, a mysterious killer, and a wide roster of characters. Well, after the show ended in 2010, murmurs floated that it was going to continue. 2015, Heroes Reborn started its first and only season. So this game is tied to Heroes Reborn and therefore indirectly tied to Heroes as well. Now, add to that the fact that the game only has 250 reviews on Steam and seems to be very unique with its gameplay, and you've got me interested. We play as Cassandra. She and her friend, Alex, go to explore a ruined building which supposedly holds secrets to finding out about Cassandra's family. On our way, we learn how to look up. Exciting. Alex gives us some cool glasses which allow us to track people. If you're watching the video, then I suggest you check in to look at the date and the battery percentage, since they're both dynamic to an extent. A small design choice that serves to create a more immersive experience. Alex peer pressures us to get into the biggest and the most epic fad of 2009. Parkour. I'm surprised at how decent it feels. There's some magnetism to grabs and it's never made too hard. It's like a much more basic version of Mirror's Edge, if Mirror's Edge was only about climbing up ledges. We fall through the ceiling and our nice friend gets taken captive. We discover that we have fun little powers. The first ability is that we can create a window into the past, similar to the mirror in Dishonored 2. We also find out that we can teleport to the past. Also, like any sane person, we inject ourselves with a random needle scavenged from a ruined building, and we now have telekinesis. So, this is one half of the gameplay structure. You basically use your abilities to defeat enemies. Only abilities. No guns, no melee. Honestly, it works really well. It always kept me on my feet, and mastering my abilities felt like I was taking charge of the world and becoming the new threat over the actual enemies. We're given another ability, which is basically a way to slow time. With it, we can pass through different traps and also jump higher, both of which are essential to pass through the game. Let's talk about the other half of the gameplay structure. The weaker half. Platforming. The game really loves its platforming. That would be totally fine by me if the controls weren't so loose. I got stuck more than once just because the path I was supposed to take just didn't work. Same goes for a couple of random deaths I got. In the meanwhile, it seems we got another power. An ability to repel bullets and other projectiles. A very cool ability that's a bit tricky to use in active combat. Let's move on to something that the game did pretty well. Secrets. Well, mostly they're as secret as my insecurities, but they're fun collectibles nonetheless. In the world, both present and the past world, you'll be able to find little items that have some voice line connected to them. They're fun to listen to, especially when the collectible connects to the actual source material. For example, a randomly placed Ninth Wonders comic or patient files that reference the other characters in the universe. So, talking of references, I actually had to watch Season 3 and Season 4 of Heroes just to make this review, and damn was it a drag. It's a solid show with good characters, but it's like watching a 10 episode season in 26 episodes. It's insane how slow it gets and how pointless most of the scenes are. Can we also take a moment to talk about how terrible Heroes Reborn was? It was like a bad fan-made show. Everything from the acting to the dialogue to the overall story. It all sucked. Everything sounded dubbed and all environments looked like they were just a green screen. It's insane how terrible it all was. I feel bad for all the actors that came back for it, hoping that it would be even near to the quality of the original show. It's a total travesty. So is it worth playing this game to get more information and lore for Heroes Reborn? No. The product's pretty separate from the actual show and you'll learn nothing new. Ah, but is it worth watching Heroes Reborn just to get the most out of this game? Fuck no. Fuck no. Stay away from this garbage. You're barely losing out on some lore that's unimportant in the game to begin with. It's not worth it. Stay away from Heroes Reborn, period. Trust me. I keep sounding like a broken record here, but like with Hitman, Gemini Heroes Reborn basically has no real story. Instead you have story beats that are presented to you in hopes that something sticks. Friend gets taken, find him. That's pretty much the entire hook of the story. It's just not enough. The more we move ahead with the video, the more you'll probably see what I mean. With voice acting, most people sound extremely bored, and the audio quality also feels pretty uneven, with some characters sounding muffled and quiet, while others sound pretty normal. The actual performances just range from dull to flat out bad. Oh, this is the point where we finally meet the villain of the story. The man whose name I don't remember, and whose face, while writing this script, I just keep forgetting. But let's make him feel better. Oh no, the threatening villain is scaring me a lot. I truly care about him, and I am totally not just scratching my balls while reading a Reddit thread while he's speaking. Let's talk about the visuals. You've seen the game. It's gorgeous. It really is. Unpolished, but beautiful. The game's running on Unreal 4 and it definitely shows. Present areas can look especially good with the stone and the metal being overtaken by lush nature. The past areas also look very good, with generic but still well crafted areas. You've also probably noticed the insane amount of screen effects like bloom and blur. Honestly, it cheapens a lot of the visuals, and I'd have disabled them if possible. But I guess at least they distract from some of the awfully low quality textures, which you'll find here and there. So, a €5 game that's licensed to a popular IP with good visuals and with unique gameplay. Where's the catch? Well, you might already guess, but the clunkiness is the main issue. The game's completely unpolished for the most part. Textures clip, platforming's fiddly, glitches are abound, textures look half-finished, and the story's basically just story beats forced together, and corners have been cut so much that we're dealing with a circle here. It's a beautiful circle, but it's a circle nonetheless. This might be a total turnoff for you. For me, it at times almost was as well. After playing the game for a bit, you'll definitely start recognizing some patterns. For example, enemies are usually mainly in only one timeline, or at the very least one timeline has very weak resistance. So what you can do is a lot of hit and run tactics. Travel in time, move to a place, go back in time, throw an object and go back again. Another tactic I kept using was what I call the telekinetic shield. What you do is take a weaker enemy and just hold him up, while your enemies kindly just fill them with holes. A very handy tactic indeed. The game also employs a couple of puzzles, which rely on you using some of your powers, and honestly one of them got me so stumped that I had to look at a walkthrough. The solution was extremely simple, but I just wasn't used to thinking in the required manner, so it definitely got me. Regardless, anyone who is half decent at basic puzzles won't have any issues in this department. In terms of the soundtrack, Gemini basically has no real soundtrack. Everything's pretty generic, except for 2 tracks, which honestly sound too similar to the Heroes soundtrack, which makes me think that perhaps they just took a couple of songs from the roster to bulk up their own production values. Despite that, those 2 songs are really good and fitting of the setting. We find Alex and turns out he's a bad guy. He claims to care about us, and his first way to show it is to make us fight him and his weird wind powers. The entire boss fight feels pretty unpolished, and it's also very easy. Mind you, I still prefer an easier fight to an impossible, unpolished battle. After the fight, we proceed and find out that the girl we saw previously is actually our sister from the past. Probably the most predictable thing you could throw at us, but I'll bite. This is probably the most bold thing the story does, and I'll commend them for doing even that much. We reach the most frustrating combat arena in the game. Enemies just spawn in waves, and we can't time travel, so we're stuck in direct combat with the enemies, which really highlights how clunky the entire combat system is, and how it just isn't designed for direct fighting. After multiple deaths, we finally manage to proceed. We meet the final boss and it turns out he has superpowers. Again, more than predictable, but fine. We teleport him into the past and we get him to blow up the facility in 3 stages. This basically means that we're the reason the facility is blown up to begin with, and how our actions have facilitated this time loop to begin with. Very clever. Anyways, we run from the explosion in slow motion mode and the game's done. Gemini Heroes Reborn is a hidden gem, in my opinion. The awesome level design, the dedication to creating a unique gameplay experience, and a relatively short playthrough facilitated a great experience for me. 3 hours and done. Sometimes that's all you need. If you're on the market for something different but still pretty familiar, then give this game a shot. Thank you so much for watching. This is my second experiencing video and I'm still trying to find my voice here. I'm happy to see that the Firewatch video did so well and it has kicked me into gear for making videos. Also, OpenShot just stopped cooperating with me, so I needed to start learning DaVinci Resolve for editing. That's why some things might look really clunky. Hopefully I managed to learn this program well enough to create some decent videos. Thanks for putting up with me. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but it won't be hard to find something. If you liked the video, then perhaps give it a like and also subscribe. Each one of those helps me out tremendously, especially now when a single subscriber increases my viewer base by like 3%, or a like that increases my like amount by 10. Regardless, thanks for watching.